Hello, if you've been here before, welcome back. If not, hi, my name is David. I make videos talking about media that I want to talk about. This is my reading wrap up for the month of November. I read, I think I count 10 total books this past November. And yeah, I'm just going to do a wrap up of my month. And I'm doing this a little bit differently. I have already recorded the first half of this month. This is inspired by Jess over at My Cats Can't Read. Sorry, her reading wrap ups. She records them halfway through the month so that it's a less of a workload in total, I believe. It's inspired by her, so go check out her video. Shout out to Jess. It was a lot easier to have this reading wrap up split in half in terms of when I record and edit and stuff like that. And so go check her out. And today I am joined by our new additions to the family. We have Cinesnail. You saw Cinesnail last month. And also Queeble, both characters from, not characters, but like creatures from Bugsnax, a really fun video game that I played, and I got these two specifically for my birthday. My boyfriend gave it to me, and if you remember, Citizen had two eyes, but these eyes are really flimsy, and so this one fell off, but that's fine. It gives him character, and when this one falls off eventually, it'll be fine. But Queeble here is a new addition as well, and so they will be joining me in a reading wrap-up this month. So, I introduced to you, past David. Hello, David from the future. It's me, David from the past. Hello, past David. How's it going? Hey, David from the future. Has anything super exciting happened in these next few weeks up until the end of November? Well, nothing really interesting happened in the world, but very, I don't know about very seriously, but like, hey, my Tumblr was hacked and I fell for a scam. Unfortunately. So my Tumblr is different. I will update it in this Discord. It's DavidGF Orlando dash or hyphen tube. And if you follow me there, I think with this new account, I'm going to post more about books on there as well. But yeah, if you follow my Tumblr, unfollow, and then follow my new Tumblr because I got hacked. But anyways, that's the new thing that happened this year. Cool! So to start with, the first book that I read this month was The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. Let me show you the cover. It is so beautiful. Ugh, love that. This is a story about two men who are tasked to escort a goddess across a kingdom to defeat the emperor in that kingdom. But it's more than that too. It is also a story. It is also a love story. That they say that a lot in this book. It is also a play. A character is watching a play about these two men, and it is an amazing story. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. I started off this month really, really good. It had an amazing plot. Every single plot beat I gasped or was shocked at or was very happy with, and I never expected anything to happen. And when things happened that I was very surprised about, I was like, this feels so right to the story, and I really enjoyed that. It had some amazing storytelling. Like, so for example, there's a character, he remains unnamed, and it's always in second person when referring to this character, which is difficult at times when you begin, but as you keep going, it gets easier to understand what it's trying to do. And he is in dreaming, I believe, watching this play put on by the child of the moon and the ocean. And they're putting on this play about these two men, and also it's telling the story of these two men who are escorting this goddess, and it plays around with point of view and it plays around with the structure of the story as well. In a very similar way to like the Book Thief, there are moments where the story has like little inserts of like, I wouldn't say chapter titles, because there is chapters in here in and of itself, but it is sort of like important lines said that after a time, I got sort of confused about what it was trying to do. But the more it happened, the more it felt like, I don't know, important plot beats that we wanted to focus on, and emotional things as well. That was also a big part of it. I also enjoyed how it would dip into the point of view of random people that they encounter. Like it would go into italics and it would be a person they pass, and it gives like a little insight as to what they thought or what they remembered or what they saw and stuff like that. And that's how the goddess is depicted in this story as well, which is really, really awesome. It's a very difficult book to read, but it is so beautiful in what it wants to do, and I was really, really happy with it. It's probably one of the best books that I've read this year, and I was really happy with it. So it's a 5 out of 5 for me. So the next book is one of 4 books that I've read this month. So if you've been here before, I was rereading the Hunger Games series and the Percy Jackson series in tandem at the same time, both series that I really enjoyed when I was younger. And so I wanted to revisit those stories and then keep revisiting stories from the past that I read when I was like late elementary, middle school, high school. And there's one series that I will get to eventually later in this video that I really wanted to continue at the same time as I finished Hunger Games. So I was going to do 3 Hunger Games, 3 Percy Jackson, and then the next 2 Percy Jackson, and then the next series, and just keep sort of alternating series that I reread. And I have a list of books that I wanted to revisit, series that I wanted to revisit. And so that one series, I had ordered from the library, and it was not going to arrive for a long time. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Let me start another series then. And then that other book was going to take some time. And I was like, let me put 2 other ones just to see, like, what's the term? Aiming for the moon landing in the stars, whatever. Let me just start something. And so I had, at one point, 4 books that I had ordered from the library at the same time. And I was like, I'll get to them eventually. They'll come one by one. And I was wrong. They all came at the same time. So all these 4 books I will be talking about are the first books in a series that I will eventually read, but I will get to them one by one and not at the same time. Does that make sense? So the first book that arrived was Gideon the Cut Purse by Linda Buckley-Archer. This is not the copy that I wanted. This is a copy that I got from the library. It has, whoa. I don't like how it looks. And also, I believe this is the original UK version. This book is set in the United Kingdom. I remember reading this book with this cover. This is the one that I like. This is the one I logged on Goodreads, if you follow me there. And I remember that. I had that copy of the book. I think I gave it away because I can't find it anymore. So I got the library version, and I knew that I had read this book and the second book, and I wanted to revisit this series because I don't remember anything. I specifically remember trying to read the first book and having to stop and restart it. And I just knew that I had this really cool cover that I wanted to revisit. And so I was like, let me just revisit this series eventually. And then the book came, and I was like, great, I'll read this one. Of the 4 books, this will be the 4th series that I cover or that I revisit once I go through them, or 3rd, one of those 2. Because it was fine. It's a 3 out of 5. So it's about 2 kids. I literally just forgot their names. It's Peter and Kate? Peter and Kate, right? It's a 3 out of 5. These kids were fine. They kind of annoyed me, and they're children characters, and it was fine. But, so, it's Kate and Peter who stumble through some science department near... Stop! I didn't catch him in time. Anyways, they stumble through a science department that her father works at and get taken back in time to 1837? 1763. I'm so sorry. 1763. I will say it's 3 stars because the writing was fine, the story was competent, everything was firing on all the pistons that it should. I just didn't really care for it, but I don't know. I I hate the cover. I hate this cover. It's a good children's story, I will say. It's a great, foray into these types of stories for it's the children's. All the four books, I also want to say. I will say all the four books that I got from the library were children's stories, young adult stories that I read when I was a young adult, and I wanted to revisit to be able to say, like, yeah, I read this book. This chair makes so much noise. It had some pretty good humor. I will say there were moments where I did laugh out loud, and it was really funny. But so Gideon the Cutpurse is the original story published, and then it became republished as the Time Travelers. Sorry. But Gideon the Cutpurse is this guy that they meet in 1763, who's blonde and who's a former cutpurse in terms of he's a former thief for like a lord, and they encounter enemies of his as well. And Gideon, is an amazing character, a paragon, definitely. Maybe, well, he has flaws, but it feels manufactured. He's too perfect. He's too perfect of a guy, but also not perfect, and he's flawed, obviously. I think he's a really well-crafted character and a really interesting character for kids to read about. And so it's really important that a character like that is written because the kids can turn to him and trust that Gideon will help them. And I think that's a really nice thing to have. And so Gideon himself is a really important character, really good character as well. The kids, I'm kind of annoyed by them. The way that they treat women here, not just because they're in 1763, but also in the present, the way that they treat women here is kind of like a product of its time. And overall, 3 out of 5. I do want to continue reading this because it's a quick read. I read this in 2 days, a little less than that. I was like, I would continue the series, but there are other series before it that I want to revisit before it. So it'll be in the back burner, probably finishing around halfway through the year next year, whenever, something like that. The next book I read is the second of the 4 books that I got from the library, and that is Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. I believe it's Funke. 4 out of 5 stars. This is also a reread from the past. Inkheart obviously also is a movie. I believe I watched the movie first and then read the series. And I specifically remember reading the series, at least the second or third book, sitting on the sidewalk next to my really, really small charter school in 6th grade, where recess was just in the parking lot. It was a really small school, and so recess was just in a parking lot. And I was sitting in the sidewalk reading either the second or third book. I don't remember. It was purple. I believe that's the second book. But either way, Inkheart is about a girl, Maggie, whose father, played by Brandon Sanderson in the movie, so I can only, not Brandon Sanderson, Brandon Fraser, sorry, played by Brandon Fraser in the movie. I don't have the book in front of me because it was a library book and I had to return it. Oh my god, I forgot his name. Brandon Fraser, our character, is silver tongue in that whenever he reads, or most of the time when he reads out loud from a book, those things from the book come alive. And the characters in a book named Inkheart came alive, took his wife, Maggie's mother, and brought into our world dangerous men. And it's also, this is also translated from German, and so it's all set within like the European countryside, which is a really fun setting, I will say, because it felt new, it felt different. I mean, most young adult stories that children read, because this is a popular story, right? Most of the time, these children read stories set in New York. It's set in someplace in the United States, New York. But having this, I really like the setting here, mostly because it was European. It's like, hey, European. London is also a popular place for young adult novels. So, okay, Gideon, London, New York, usually. What other common places are there? LA, I guess, sometimes. Anyways, Inkheart is a 4 out of 5. I really liked this first book, and I know that the second and third ones are also really, really fun. I just don't really remember that well, so I'm going to revisit them. This will be the second series that I revisit after I revisit the first series. It has some really good, simple characters. Maggie, Brandon Fraser's character, Dustfinger. How do I remember everyone else except for him? It starts with an O? No. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Anyways, good simple characters had very simple motivations, but they're very strong ones as well. And you could really feel for them. Eleanor, who's played by, oh, I really liked her actress. What was her name? I forgot the actress's name of Eleanor, and I forgot the character's name of Brandon Fraser. That's great. Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren. There you go. Eventually, Mo. I remembered. I'm so sorry. I'm chugging an energy drink right now, so I'm a little wired. Anyways, this was a really fun story. I wanted more magic. I wanted more silver tongue-y things happening. But what is there is pretty fine. I think I'm comparing it also to the movie itself, where we eventually learn, spoiler, that Maggie is also a silver tongue, and she, in the movie, brings Toto back, I believe, from she reads aloud Alice in Wonderland. No, that's not Alice in Wonderland. Toto? That's Wizard of Oz, right? I believe that's what happened in the movie. I don't remember. It's been a hot minute. But in the book, she brings back the Tin Man and Tinkerbell. But those happen pretty late in the story, and and Toto coming into the movie happens about halfway through. So I feel like I wanted more of this silver tongue magic present. I wanted more fun with that. But what is there that is Mo reading Farid from Thousand Nights, Thousand Arabian Nights, 100 Arabian Nights, that happening, different other characters, different other things happening. I wanted more, but what is there is fine, I guess. I'm just a little greedy, you know? And I do want to continue this series. I do, Ink Spell, I believe, was really fun. That is when they go into Inkheart itself, and then Ink Death, I remember reading it and finishing it like that. And it was really quick, and also like in one location or something like that. I do not remember anything about it except for I did have to look it up, but the Adderhead, the main protagonist of the story, the leader, the head above Capricorn, because Capricorn is the main antagonist in Inkheart, and then Adderhead, I believe, is his employer in Inkspell and Ink Death is when they encounter him. And then the Magpie as well, Capricorn's mother. She's in this Inkheart. In Inkheart, I forgot about that, but she's really fun in this, and I know she gets even more fun and more evil in the next two books. And so I'm really excited to get to that once I go through the first series. The next book I read in this month is Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. Shout out to Steph from Coffee Over Apples. She made a video about this book that made me want to read it. It is a spoiler-free video about why you should read this story. I watched it, and I've heard a lot of other people want to read it, and so I got a hand of it, and I absolutely adored it. It is also a 5 out of 5 for me. I think it is slightly better, slightly edging over Spear Cuts Through Water. So this story is about Shiona, who is the first woman to have been elevated to become a high mage within her city of Turan, which is this singular city in the middle of a hostile environment that is protected by magic. And their magic system is really complex and interesting, and I don't understand most of it, except for she focuses on drawing power from the other realm. If you can see this hoop here, this is where they draw power from to do stuff. So it's like the magic has two steps to it: drawing the power and directing the power. And she focuses on drawing the power. And she's also really, really good at directing the power. She's a prodigy. She is so good at what she does, and it feels right because you can feel how much she's studied and how close she is to this magic system. However, this is a very patriarchal society, and so she has been discouraged a lot of the time, and she will continue to be discouraged because she herself is a woman, and women can't do anything, right? This is a 5 out of 5 story for me because it is so intellectually, thematically, culturally, morally strong. And so Shiona becomes this high mage, right? And she is insulted by other high mages around her. They try to insult her by giving her, as an assistant, a man who is part of an ethnic minority that come from outside of Tehran. So Tehran itself was a city that was created, and anything outside of that would be the Quen. Anyone who comes from outside of it are the Quen, and they are refugees within the city because there is this monstrous blight happening that kills people randomly in the countrysides. And so Quen are refugees within Tehran, and they are looked down upon. They are discriminated against because of their ethnicity. They are racist towards them. And so, as an insult to this white woman who is in this position of power, they make her have an assistant who is a ethnic minority that they look down on. And his name, Thamel, is his name is Thamel, and the assistant, Thamel, who is he's one of 2 remaining members of an ethnic group, the Kaldane. He was a refugee from the outside world. Most all of his family is killed by this blight, is working with her. And this book is spicy, is what I first thought of in terms of describing this, but spicy in the book 2 world feels wrong. It's not spicy in terms of romance, but I would say this book is very fiery, right? Because throughout it all, we have this white woman, basically, becoming elevated to this position of power. And so she is dealing with gender discrimination and is critiquing gender discrimination and pushing against it, right? And at the same time, we're stuck within her limited third-person POV, and still, she also participates in ethnic discrimination, but not actively in terms of just thinking it, passively, right? And so at the same time that she's critiquing the gender discrimination of her world, she's still participating in the ethnic discrimination. She, every once in a while, thinks that, Thamel, he's so smart, he's not like other Quen, right? He's not like other Quen. And you can hear that saying, oh, he's not like any other black person, or he's not like any other Latino, right? And so we have this intersection of criticism in terms of gender discrimination, but also the hypocrisy of ethnic discrimination, right? And so the criticism of the gender discrimination, like, shines a bright light on how incorrect the ethnic discrimination is that she is participating in, right? And so while she's fighting over gender discrimination, she's still participating in the ethnic discrimination. She has to break this down. And I think I'm not doing a really good job of describing this. I would refer to Steph in her video. I'll link it in the description below on how this conversation actually occurs in the book. But it's so fiery because you can feel the way that this is written is to say something. And I think it's saying it really, really strongly. I think it's a little heavy-handed with it, but I feel like this is the type of story to critique our real world prejudices in a really strong and fiery way. You know, this is a very spicy book. This is a very fiery book, and it's trying to say something. And I love that. Overall, I just would refer to Steph over her thoughts. She has more eloquently put how this book is so strong with what it's trying to do. So go check out her video if you so desire. The next book that I read was the Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy of 2017 series. Editor John Joseph Adams, edited by Charles Yu. I'm not familiar with Charles Yu. However, I am familiar with his work, apparently, because he was the story editor and writer for season 1 of Westworld, one of my favorite series. How did I not know that? I don't know. I want to revisit Westworld because it's been a hot minute since I watched it. This is a short story anthology. It's part of the Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy series that I've been reading. I've read, 15, 16, 20, 2015, 2016, 2020, 2019, 22, and 23. So I have left 18, and then 21, and then 25, or 24 and 25, because I think 24 came out already, and 25 is coming out in February, I think. Short story anthologies of stories that were published in the year prior. So all of these stories were published in 2016. 2016, you can tell that that's a very important bad year. 2016 to me was my least favorite year ever. 2016, 2020 are my two least favorite years. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th book in this series that I've read so far, 6th or 7th. And I think it's one of the weaker ones. It's a 3 out of 5 for me. There's some really good stories. However, none of the stories really gripped me like other anthologies have. And like my least favorite anthology of this series so far, which is 2022, even that one still had a story that really did grip me. None of these stories really moved me that much, unfortunately. There's some really good stories here, obviously, like technically good, plot-wise really good, but nothing that really like pushed me emotionally like other anthologies have, unfortunately. In each of these anthologies, obviously, there's also an introduction by the guest editor, Charles Yu, and his introduction was my favorite introduction of all of the books, all of this series that I've read so far. But I think that was a disservice to this book because his introduction was a really fun, like narrative, cute little narrative. It was basically just he's working. It's like laid out like a script. He's working at a coffee shop trying to edit this book, and then he's visited by 2 interdimensional aliens. Basically, that's like one is like this is really important work that you're doing, especially in this time and age, and the other one's like, oh, I've come to make sure that this dimension is destroyed, but like, oh no, this is an example of why this dimension has hope, because there's people that are writing these types of stories. And I really agree with that. In 2016, when bad things were happening in the world, these types of stories are really important to help critique, comment on, hope for, fear for this world. And so that set a really good precedent for this anthology that did not deliver. I highlighted the 5 stories that I enjoyed most, and they're all towards the back of the book, and I think that's a really bad edit. I think that because if these stories are like really good, then why are they all in the very back? But I'll tell you the top 5 in no particular order, I guess in order of chronologically. Brian Evanson's Smear from Conjugations 67 and Other Aliens. N.K. Jemison's The City Born Great from Tor.com. I believe it is a proof of concept, or she has her book, I forget what it's called, but it's this, I believe this is pulling from that, or a prequel, or like advertisement or something like that, but now I want to read this book because of this short story. Alice Sola Kim's Successor, Usurper, and Replacement from BuzzFeed Reader. Dale Bailey's I Was a Teenage Werewolf from Nightmare Magazine. And Joseph Allen Hill's The Venus Effect from Lightspeed Magazine are my top 5 from this anthology. And the last thing from me in the past, from David in the past, is the next book that I read, which was Beyonders by Brandon Mull, A World Without Heroes, Book 1. So it's Beyonders is the series. This is Book 1, A World Without Heroes. This is the 3rd book of 4 that I got from the library. And it's about this guy, Jason, who gets isekai'd into this world, and he has to go on this quest to defeat the sorcerer. And yeah, it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me, I think. So the series that I've not talked about yet will be the first series that I'm going to be reading. Inkheart, Beyonders, and then the Time Travelers, getting the Cuppers. This was it was a great standard fantasy. I literally just finished it a few hours ago. The world building's kind of loose here. Like there are some things that's like, oh, this person in power has to do this whenever someone does this, or this city is really highly politically volatile, and like there's also this swamp, and there's also this volcano with oobleck inside it, and it's sort of disconnected, but all of it does have this sort of non-standard cohesion, I think, in that everything is just sort of like, yeah, I guess, and that kind of works. It kind of works in that, this place is like this, and this other place is like that, and it just is. And it kind of works in sort of like a slapdash sort of way. This world feels slapdashly made, but not haphazardly. I compare it to Angie Kills the King, which I just read recently that I did not like, and that world building was also pretty loose and haphazard, but that one felt more like trying to pull different things from different fantasy traditions. This felt wholly original and wholly unique too, right? The uniqueness of the world building is what sort of has that cohesion within them. Either way, it is also, a fantasy story where a character has to go on a quest to collect a number of objects to stop a bad person. And to me, I remember reading this when I was younger, maybe a little bit after I watched Del Toro Quest. And Del Toro Quest, I think, was a simpler story. It is a simpler story. More books in it, obviously, as well. But I think it accomplishes what it wants to do much better than the Beyonders does. I think the Beyonders is trying to be a little bit more complex than it actually is. It does not feel like it's trying to critique anything, but it's trying to critique things happening within the world. But we're not part of the world, so that critique isn't really landing anywhere. It's a fine story. I remembered the world building of the humanoid races is the most unique part, and I remember specifically the types of the humanoid race that have a seed at the back of their neck that you can replant and they get reborn, and they're basically almost immortal. Not basically, but almost immortal. I remember that, and I also remembered the ending. This plot twist was really, really risky and big, and I think it pulls it off in a very risky way and makes you want to continue reading the series. And I think I am invested in these characters. I am making myself be invested in these characters, but I'm not there yet, and I know that I only really want to read the second book because I remember reading the second book and being absolutely terrified at a specific part, and I want to revisit that because that one part in that second book has stuck with me for a long time, more than anything in this book. And so I just wanted to revisit that and also finish the series. It's a trilogy. It's a quick read. And yeah, I will get to it eventually, but I do have to return this book to the library tonight, or at least before Saturday, but whatever. Anyways, back to you, David, in the future. All right, we're back in the future. Something that helps in terms of having two separate times to record this, I get to have some addendums. And so for one, I forgot to say that Beyonders is my number 100th book that I read this year. It is the 100th book that I've read this year, which is an amazing milestone because last year I only got to 80 odd, and then half of that was audiobooks that were like pretty quick. I want to do a larger yearly wrap up towards the end of the month, toward the end of December. But yes, 100 books I've read this year. Very big asterisk as well in terms of a handful of those are also some children's books that are pretty quick to read. But great milestone, 100 books read this year, and more to come because Beyonders, right? And then also as an addendum, because spoiler alert, not only is this my, well, I have this anthology, I have another anthology I want to talk about, but I forgot to say, with these anthologies, I want to give at least a little recap as to what the top 5 stories that I liked in them. I already said what stories I liked in these, but I'm just going to give a synopsis as to what they are about. Smear is about a man who is stuck in a spaceship going somewhere, and he sees something in his mask, in his helmet. He doesn't know exactly what it is. The City-Born Great, N.K. Jemisin, is about a guy who learns that he is destined to help guide, save, fight for cities in New York City, and it is sort of like an eldritch cosmic horror, cosmic being type conflict that is happening, and there's a large city spanning tentacles as well. That's pretty fun. Successor Usurper Replacement by Alice Sola Kim is about a group of Asian friends meeting each other during a storm where there is a kaiju outside of their building, and they are having a writers meeting. They write until they talk with each other about it, and someone mysterious comes to their door. I Was a Teenage Werewolf by Dale Bailey is a series of different, I guess, synopses, or I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's like little sections of news, maybe I would say, detailing the increase of werewolf activity in this suburban neighborhood, and how the families and teenagers are being threatened by this teenage werewolf. And finally, The Venus Effect, Joseph Allen Hill, is Joseph Allen Hill as the narrator attempting to write a story with a black protagonist, mainly a male black protagonist, sometimes a female protagonist, but his story keeps being interrupted by the sudden and unexpected appearance of a policeman who shoots and kills the black man. And it is a really great breakdown of the senseless violence that is police brutality, and how it is impossible to write an interesting story because death like that is not interesting. And those were the top 5 for this anthology. And I have another anthology that I want to talk about, so that's setting up that I'm going to do that for the next one, because I forgot to do that for this one. The next book that I read in the month of November was Clockwork Angel, Infernal Devices #1 by Cassandra, Clare. This is the 4th book, finally the 4th book of the 4 books that I got from the library. And so my original plan was to, once I finished The Hunger Games, as I was finishing Percy Jackson, I would continue with Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Angel, Infernal Devices, because that's the one Mortal Instruments, or sorry, I read Mortal Instruments as well. That's the only Shadowhunters series that I distinctly remember not having anything bad to think about that. I distinctly remember enjoying myself a lot with this series, and so I wanted to revisit it through the library. And so when I move forward with the series that I'm going to be rereading, it'll be the Percy Jackson series concurrently with, I'm going to finish Infernal Devices, then I'm going to do, I believe it was Inkheart, and then Beyonders, and then Gideon the Cut Purse. All through the library, and then I'm going to take my time with that too, so I don't overload myself. So, but yeah, Clockwork Angel, 4 out of 5. I pretty much enjoyed this. I remembered more than I thought I would have remembered in this book, because I read the first and second books pretty close to each other, and then I had to wait for the third book to come out to be published. And once I got my hands on it, it was a year later after it was published, and so I did not remember anything that had happened in the first 2 books when I read the third book, and so I didn't really get a sense of closure for this series, even though I read all the 3 books. I wanted to revisit it, and a lot of the things that happened in this book, in the first one, I remembered, and I was really pleased about that these were very striking moments. For me, the setting and the atmosphere were just perfect, but also it is a stylized, it is specific, this type of setting and atmosphere, this Victorian London. It's very hard to get that wrong, and I think that Cassandra Clare does it really well here. and it serves the story very, very well. Knowing how she can write the moral instruments and that sort of setting in New York in the modern day, seeing this set in Victorian London has a very strong stylized hold on it, and so I was really happy with that. I did not remember any of the automata. Infernal Devices is about the main character, Tessa, who is American, who goes to London to rejoin with her brother, but she gets embroiled within the mess of the Shadowhunters and meets Will and Jem from the Institute and a bunch of other Shadowhunters. Shadowhunters being warriors who fight and defend humanity from demons. And there's also downworlders that are also werewolves, vampires, fairies, etc. And so Tessa is a warlock, but she doesn't know exactly what she is or why she is a warlock. She's not like anything anyone has seen before. And so the mystery of the entire series is, what is Tessa? And I remember that was one of the biggest, the big reveals that I do remember. That was like, that was really good. I'm not gonna say it right now. It's spoilers. But anyways, yes, Infernal Devices is about how this I don't quite remember. The main antagonist, I think he's going to continue through the entire 3 books, is a mortal, someone who is not a demon, not a shadow hunter, a mortal who wants to do something we don't know yet using automata, robots, basically, androids. And this is Victorian London, so it's very like Clockwork Angel. It's very Clockwork Automata. I really liked the automata and how they're used, and it's really creepy. And I wish it was creepier. I wonder if the next 2 books push that creepiness of the uncanny valley of automata a little bit more, make it a little bit more stranger if you know about the Magnus Archives, Nicola Orsnov, etc. But what they had was really good, and there were some moments that were like genuinely creepy, and so that was really fun. And I found that I really enjoyed myself, and probably Cassandra Clare's strength in my eyes is the interactions between characters when they're in group settings, right? And whenever the Shadowhunters in the Institute, in the London Institute, interact with each other, you can really feel that connection, camaraderie, friction, chemistry that comes with it. Well, Jem is my favorite character. When I remember reading this book when I was younger, Jem became sort of like a beacon as to how I want to carry myself as a man. And so Jem became a model for who I wanted to be as a man. But on the other side, Will, I don't like Will. I believe it's called Byronic characters based off like the Byronic hero, sarcastic stuff like that. I don't quite enjoy him, but there's enough nuance with him that I can enjoy experiencing him, but I just don't enjoy him that much. I feel like he will get better, that the writing will mellow out, and he will mellow out. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just here for Tessa and for Jem, and Will's there as well. And then the revolving characters around are also pretty fun. One thing that I noticed when I was reading this is a very prototypical romantasy forerunner. Just big words to say that this is the thing that led to the current romantasy genre popular nowadays. And I think, compared to other romantasies that I've read, this one is just starting to find its footing. And the thing is, at times, Tessa and Will, who are the main focus in this book in terms of their relationship, at times Tessa's love for Will is seen as like this unstoppable force. Like she is, I wouldn't say forced to love him, but it is something that she cannot help to love him. And I don't quite enjoy that because I feel like it's not her choice to do so. However, there are moments where she is choosing to interact with him, choosing to push against him, choosing to pull away from him. And I enjoy those moments more than when she is just across from him. She's like, and there's just this pull, something pulling me towards him. I don't like that. And I feel like that is a big part of why I don't like some romances where it just feels like love is just there and there's no explanation for it, when really I feel like it should be a choice as to who you move with and who you interact with and how you interact with and stuff like that. So I know that it will get better. I know that. I know that the love triangle between Will, Jem, and Tessa is one of the better love triangles in history. So I'm looking forward to continue reading this series. It is a 4 out of 5 for me. The next book that I read in the month was The Best Horror of the Year, Volume 9, edited by Ellen Datlow. Alongside with the Best American Science Fiction Fantasy series, I've been also reading the Best Horror of the Year. At some point, it'll just be this anthology because I would have caught up with this book, but I've read volumes 8 and 14. Yes, 8 and 14. This is 9, and so I'm going to have 10, 11, 12, 13. And then 15, I believe, is for 2022, and then keep going from there. Yes, so it's just an anthology of, like, I think I counted 23 short stories in this book, all edited by Ellen Datlow. Ellen Datlow scares me. The amount of work that she does is crazy. It is a 4 out of 5 for me. I think it was a pretty strong anthology compared to 2017 Best American Science Fiction Fantasy. I think this one is the better one of that year. So I'm trying to read these paired for the year that they were published. Hopefully, sometimes to also catch if there's overlap, and there isn't. I haven't caught that yet, but I've only done the first year, whatever. This is a really strong anthology. Ellen Datlow noted it when she was doing her review of the year of publishing short stories. There's a lot of cosmic horror in the year that these stories were published, which was 2016. This book was published in 2017. All the stories were published in 2016. There was a lot of cosmic horror that was published in 2016, and so there's a lot of cosmic horror represented within this story. And I like cosmic horror a lot, and so I was really happy with that. The stories were pretty consistent. There were very, very few stinkers compared to the 2017 version of the science fiction fantasy. Also, compared to 2017, none really shook me that much. However, the highs of this anthology are higher than the 2017 anthology. And so that's also something to note. Also, similar to the 2017, Volume 9 has a really weird edit in terms of, I don't know if you can see, I marked in my top 5, and 4 of them are towards the latter half, and there's one at the very beginning, which is very similar to how 17's, all 5 of them are at the very end. And I think that's a weird edit. Of course, it all comes down to personal preference, but the fact that almost all of the good ones that I enjoyed, at least, super enjoyed, were back over here, it's interesting. I will also say there were some stories in here that I had to cut from the top 5 because they were like really good. While in this one, it was kind of hard to get that top 5. But anyways, the top 5 stories for me were Nesters by Siobhan Carroll, which is basically just color out of space, which is a Lovecraftian story about a meteorite crashing into a farm and weird stuff starts happening. It's Color Out of Space. It's also a movie, a really good movie, but set during the Dust Bowl. Set during the Dust Bowl in the 1800s. I should know this. And so it's a really great setting with a really great framework of the story, and I really enjoyed that. The Beautiful Thing We Will Become by Christy DeMeester is about a young girl who sees her friend being abused by her father, and wants that abuse for herself because she is having body issues, while at the same time, her friend's father is making a Frankenstein's monster. No Matter Which Way We Turn by Brian Evanson. Noted Brian Evanson also wrote Smear. Brian Evanson is, I guess, the winner of 2017 because he has 2 stories represented in my top 5, sorry, of the anthologies. No Matter Which Way We Turn is a very short story about how aliens come down very quickly and make a girl just her back. Imagine that. The Castle March Man by Ray Cluley is a set of different geocaching locations and the story of a man and how his wife was taken by a mysterious figure. And On Those Blackened Shores of Time by Brian Hodge is about a mother and father whose adult son is taken or falls into a sinkhole, and their attempts to try to rescue him uncover something underground that is hidden and cosmic. And yeah, I think there's some pretty good stories in here that I had to prioritize some over the others to note. But I think this is one of the stronger anthologies overall. And yeah, I highly recommend it. The next book that I read in the month of November is, I've alluded to it already, Percy Jackson and the Last Olympian, book 5 of the Percy Jackson Olympians series. Last Olympian is the last book of... Stay? Okay. This one's a 4 out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed it. It is definitely the series kept getting better and better, and I was really happy with that. I'm just gonna leave it like this because I did get this cover, this edition, but I prefer the original anyway. So I'm just gonna put it up as a picture. Anyways, Last Olympian. It's a great culmination of the entire series. I think it's really hard to land to stick the landing for a series like this, and I think that this book sticks it, and I was really happy with it. Percy has just amazing growth within this series, and you can really see him getting stronger and stronger, and still being who he is, but learning and growing, and not only powerfully growing, but also like maturing. And I really was very happy with that. I think that the pacing was amazing, considering that this is about one battle that happens over the course of, I believe, 2 or 3 days. I got a little iffy there, but the fact that it's just one short amount of time spread between one book, the rest of the books span like weeks. And they go pretty fast. But this one is only set within, I believe, it's 2 to 3 days, and that makes everything feel more intense and tighter. And everything that has been preparing Percy from the first book has led him to this point, and I was enjoying the entire ride. And I am so excited to continue this series. Not only is Percy an amazing character, Percy and Annabeth's relationship is amazing. It's one of the best slow burns ever, considering this is a YA novel. And I was just, whenever they interacted this book, I was like, just, I cannot wait for the show. The second season's coming out next week, I want to say, or sometime in early December. And trust that I will be watching the second season with my boyfriend, and it will be showing up for the 3rd and 4th and 5th season. So after this, now I do want to read the Heroes of Olympus. That's it. I do want to continue reading that one. However, I want to have a little break from having to buy these books, and so I'm just going to get the books from the library for the Kane Chronicles. The next series, a spin-off series, which is about the Egyptian gods. And that one I'll get through the library, so that will take its time as well. So they'll give me some buffer room between Last Olympian and The Lost Hero. That's it. Great series. And the last book that I read in this month was Lightbreakers by Aja Gabel. This is the book of the month pick for November. As you can see, Lightbreakers. I would say it's probably my least favorite book that I read this month. It's a 3.5 out of 5 for me. I think it's good. It's fine. It's written well. It's not for me, unfortunately. And I this again, the choices in November for book of the month were kind of bad. And this was the only one that really called to me because it had some genre elements to it. So it's about husband and wife, a husband who gets hired to help work with this billionaire guy to make time travel. And he's traumatized. The husband is traumatized because his daughter from a different marriage had died, and that marriage dissolved, and he's now married to a different woman, but he's still dealing with the grief of his dead daughter. And so he hopes to somehow change history with the time travel. Yeah, I like the characters. I like the characters. It was written well. This is a combination of science fiction and contemporary literature. However, because of this combination, it doesn't mix well. There's no mixing of these two genres well. And neither of the two different genres reach the potential that they could reach together. Does that make sense? Like, science fiction genre can do a lot. Contemporary literature genre can do a lot. You're gonna fall. However, I don't think that they reached the possibilities that they could in this book. For one, there isn't even any time travel, and most of the time travel is just memories, very very lucid like feeling memories. And at one point, the wife goes into the memory of the past to meet the daughter who died. But there's no actual time travel. Nothing really can. There is time travel, but it's not time travel. And I just found myself disappointed with it. It felt like a combination of Don't Worry, Darling, and like any other contemporary novel about a husband and wife going through marital strife, and like every other time travel story that is trying to get time travel to work, but it never does. And there was a lot of potential, and it just never reached it. There's a point where the wife becomes estranged, and she moves back to Japan. She's Japanese, and reconnects with her ex and reconnects with her family. And those were nice, but didn't really feel like it went anywhere. And overall, the story has a lesson of, hey, you need to let go of grief. And that's a really, 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 really great lesson. Don't get me wrong, it's a great lesson. I don't need that anymore. I've read enough about that. I know enough about that. So I am fine with this. Other people would likely get more from this story than I did. And so there's that. I wouldn't say a good comparison, but this made me feel the same way that I felt reading The Ministry of Time by Claney Bradley. Ministry of Time, which also was a combination of two different genres, science fiction and romance, but it didn't reach the heights that either could. And so both these books feel to me very similar in terms of their attempts, their wants, and the style as well. But the impact is not what I would want. Would I recommend this? No. Is it a bad book? Not at all. It's a really good, well-written book. The changes in the POV were pretty fun as well. And the characters are also the highlight of this story. But yeah, it's probably my least favorite of the month, but it's only a 3.5 out of 5. So yeah, that was my reading month of November. It definitely peaked in the first half with A Blood Over Brighthaven and The Spirit Cuts Through Water. The anthologies were pretty good. Well, the horror one was my favorite, obviously. Obviously, rereading Percy Jackson and rereading The Infernal Devices was pretty good. And then Book of the Month, if next month, or I'm gonna complete the 12 months. I think I started in February or March one of those two. Once I complete that year circuit, if overall I didn't enjoy it, I think I might just unsubscribe. We'll see what happens in the next 3 months for Book of the Month. And then the 4 library books. That was a slog, but I will be returning to them at some point. And yeah, I think this month was pretty varied. It also started to pick up a bit at work, so it's been harder to read books. 10 books this month. It's a pretty fine month. For the end of the year, I am looking forward to the books that I have to read. I have a lot of physical books, and I'm trying to read them in the order that I got them, but also some of them got a little lost in transit, and so I'm choosing now the books that I'm going to read for December for the end of the year, and hopefully that will make December really, really good and start anew for the next year. I am currently reading Death on the Caldera by Emily Paxman, and it is a mystery similar to Death, or what's it called? Yeah, Murder on the Orient Express. And so far, I am fine about it. I do like the characters. Obviously, a character mystery like this has to be really important. I have not read that many mysteries, but I feel like this mystery is trying to subvert the usual plot structure or setting cliches from mystery novels, and like it's set on a train, so they're trying to subvert that, and I don't quite enjoy that. But mainly, I think it's because I haven't experienced much mystery stories, and so I would want the establishing the normal before I start getting into those books that are trying to push against that envelope. However, the mystery is compelling, and the world, the fantasy world that they're in, and the magic system is also pretty fun as well. But I am only on page 130, I want to say 160. Oh, okay, I was a bit more than I thought. Of like 420. So I'm not even halfway through. So I'm reserving hard judgment until I finish it. So far, I want to continue reading it to see if I like it or not. But yeah, that's what I'm currently reading. All right, thank you very much if you got this far. Thank you very much for coming on this reading journey with me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with friends. Let me know what you think. As a reminder, again, my Tumblr was hacked. I fell for a scam. I'm so sorry. So I will have my new Tumblr in the description below. Please go follow me. I will start by next year. Next year, I will start doing more reading wrap-up stuff, or probably this month. I'll see. I'll see how I feel about it. And yeah, thank you very much. Don't forget to be passionate, and I'll see you later.